Hi, I'm Tom Zawistowski, Executive Director of the Portage County Tea Party. I'm here today to introduce you to the new fair booth that our group put together to use the Portage County Fair and all the events in the townships around Portage County. As you can see, it's a large tent, and there's a sign on it that says, "Come inside to see how citizens like you make America great." You'll also see that there's this TV in front. The TV is going to be playing a video that features our members and just basically says who they are, where they're from, and that they are the Tea Party. The point is to make people see that the Tea Party is people just like you. We're no different than anybody else. We're just citizens. You'll also see that you can win this TV. It's a 42-inch LED HDMI TV just by going through the booth and signing up. So follow me. We'll take a look at the booth. One of the things that we think is really interesting about the booth is that we kind of made it so that the kids can go through it with you. And there'll be one of our members here who will give the children a little sheet that says look for this state or look for this picture and mark it off and kind of have a little scavenger hunt while you're going through it. So follow me as we go into the tent. How did our nation begin? And we've got, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence here, and we, just some basic information about types of government. A lot of people don't realize what kind of government we have. And here we have a pop-up, so it's kind of interactive. What type of government did Benjamin Franklin say the founders created? And the answer is a republic, if you can keep it. Lots of people think that we're a democracy, but we're not. We're a representative form of government, and it is a republic. So this is a kind of the starting point, and the kids will start down here looking for a particular state or looking for a picture they can mark off. On the other side of the wall here, we have a statement about, one nation under God. Right now, there's a lot of discussion about the separation of church and state. And really, it's an interesting question, because is there a separation of church and state mentioned in the Declaration of Independence or in the Constitution? And if you open this up, you can read that there is not. It says that the government will not form an official church, but it doesn't say that you have to separate church and state. You also see that, there's some information here about religion in America and what, part of Christians and different, faiths, so you can get an idea of the perspective of, what makes up our country from that standpoint. We have "In God We Trust" is on our coins. The founding fathers relied heavily on the Bible informing the Constitution and the things that govern us. So it's important for people to look at that. You'll also see here that we have, how's it supposed to work? And basically we've got the federal government with Supreme Court and the executive branch and the legislature, which is Congress, and here's the state government, and here's your local city and village, okay, where you have a legislative branch and executives and judicial branches. So it goes from the federal government all the way down to Portage County. You also see that we have a little piece here about American exceptionalism and what makes America's form of government different than all forms that come before it. And basically we list some things like the concept of personal property rights. We establish a nation based on the rule of law, and we basically establish a nation that protected the rights of religious freedom. That was a big deal when America was formed, and it's a big deal now as we defend our freedoms and liberties. And so, as we talk about defending our freedoms and liberties, the question is, what's the price of freedom? And we all owe our freedom to our men and women in the military who fought for that freedom. And very rarely have people sat down and added it up. So this is every war that the United States has ever fought in our history, all the way down to the current Afghan and Iraqi activities. And basically 1,190,109 American soldiers have died to set us free, to protect the Constitution, to give us the form of government that we have, and give us our own personal liberties and freedoms. So now the question is, you got this freedom, you're protecting it, you've got this form of government, so what does it cost you? So basically, we've got some charts here, like how much time do we spend each day working to pay taxes? You can kind of get a look at, where do your tax dollars go that that support this government. And then, you do that, by paying taxes. And the people just never really sit down and add up all the different taxes we pay. We pay an awful lot of taxes in our country, and that's what makes our country great, because we're willing to pay taxes. We just want to get our money's worth when we pay taxes, and that's really kind of the question. The problem we have is now we have a government that was elected to serve us, but now they're borrowing to serve us. And that's causing some real concern among American citizens, and it's something that we have to address. And here's why. As of May 23rd, 2012, our current outstanding public debt, the money we've borrowed, is $15,715 billion. So, they said it's a big number, and they use trillion now like we used to use a million. Okay, then we used to use a billion, now they use trillions. But this is what they say we've borrowed, okay, and this shows you who owns that debt, and you can see people like China owing 46% of that, or China, and other countries owing 46% of that. But what is $1 trillion? So graphically, you can see there's $100, there's 10,000, there's a million, there's 100 million, there's $1 trillion. We owe 15, almost 16. Here's 15 trillion. But it's even scarier than that, because that's how much money we've borrowed. But that's not what we owe. We have pension liabilities to our government workers, retired policemen and firemen, teachers, people who've done government service. And the estimates are that it's $114 trillion. This is the debt that our sons and daughters, our grandchildren are going to have to pay. Our debt, money that was borrowed for us to use, that they're going to have to pay back. It's a burden that's going to just crush them, and we need to do something about this. We need to cut this down, and we need to address these problems. So you can get a good look at what our debt situation is. So why are we in trouble? Well, we have a panel here that talks about the trouble ahead, and one of the biggest concerns for all of us is Medicare and Social Security. Those are things we use a lot. We paid Social Security, we paid Medicare all our lives, so that when we retired, we'd have the care we need. So, when are Social Security and Medicare expected to run out? Well, you just use the little pop-up and it says 2033 for Social Security, 2024 for Medicare. It's coming soon, and we need to be concerned. We need to address this, because you can see here, this is how the deficit's going. It's just getting bigger. We're out here, 2012. Look at where it's going by 2021. We don't want to add to that debt our children and grandchildren owe. We want to cut that debt. So this is where the problem begins. Then we're currently debating this issue of health care. And lots of people understand that people want to have health care, and a lot of people think the government should provide it. But over in this corner is the way health care was when I was a lot younger, and many of you were a lot younger. And it was you, your doctor, and your insurance company. And you all had a relationship. You bought insurance. When you got a bill from your doctor, it came to you. You submitted it to your insurance company. The insurance company would give a check to you, and you would pay your doctor. Much simpler. Checks and balances. You knew what was being spent. You were paying part of it. And so you really had a relationship that worked. This chart shows what the new healthcare bill is supposed to look like. It's just frightening. It's just frightening to have that much complexity and so many different people involved. And the problem with it, from our viewpoint, is not only is it not simple, but this brings overhead, and it's got all kinds of things in it that aren't about healthcare at all. And so you see these little charts on here that pick up little tidbits that can really help you with that. In the meantime, the kids are still going through and doing their, looking for a certain state, checking it off, looking for important buildings, things of that nature. So it really kind of works out like that. So when you see government healthcare headed in that direction, and then you start to see things that are really, really threats to our individual freedoms and liberty. You're seeing people regulating things like what kind of light bulbs we can have. Or, you're not allowed to have a lemonade stand. We all have lemonade stands. To have to buy a license or get a permit to have a lemonade stand makes no sense to those of us who've grown up in America. So the infringement is just starting to just overwhelm us, and they're stopping us from doing the things that we want to do. Sure, people get hurt on certain types of recreational equipment, but it's our choice to use it. And we don't want to live in a nanny state. We want to take responsibility for our own actions. That's what it means to be an American, to have freedom and liberty, to be able to make those decisions and not have someone make them for you or force you. So we pay a price. We pay a price, every one of us. For every one person who's found a job, 3 have given up looking. So when you have that much debt, and you're borrowing that much money, and you're having all these infringements on government, infringements on business, we're having trouble creating jobs. Okay? Because the question is, who creates jobs in America? Is it business, small business, or government? Well, the answer is, it's not government. U.S. small and large businesses create jobs. This is from January 2010 to April 2012. But here's a little secret. Look who created most of the jobs. Small business, less than 500 employees. But who gets all the bailouts? Who gets all the money? It's the big businesses. It's Wall Street. But they only create 5% of the jobs. Small business is where this is at. And that's where these intrusions really affect people, all the regulation and things like that. So we're paying the price because we don't have the jobs. We don't have the jobs. We can't pay the taxes. We can't pay the taxes. We have to borrow the money, and the cycle continues. We need to break the cycle. We need to turn business loose to create the jobs we need so that we can be successful as a nation, as we have been throughout our 200 plus years. So we have what we think is now ineffective government. we basically have problems where we have laws. The laws say you can't just come into the United States. You have to apply for citizenship. You have to go through a procedure. And yet we have a situation where we've got, people crossing our borders and coming into our country and taking jobs that, many of us, think we should have. Now, we're not against immigration. We're against illegal immigration. We're against breaking laws. So this is the problem. Legal immigration is the problem because it says, what part of legal immigration don't you understand? When you get in here, you'll see how complex it is to come to this country as an immigrant. We got to fix this. We need to create a path for people to come to our country and work. So no wonder they're trying to sneak into the country. It's almost impossible to come through the front door. So we got problems on the front door and the back door. And we want our government to address that, and we want to be part of making sure that they do address that. But then we have this situation here that we have these policies that hurt you and your grandchildren too. Okay, so we're looking at energy costs. Okay, 3 years ago gasoline was $1.85. Now it's $3.65, $3.55, $3.87, whatever. But it's hurting us. This is the skyrocketing pricing of gasoline under this administration, and it's causing us a lot of problems. And what frustrates us, particularly here in Ohio, and you can see this map, where we have oil and gas, we have energy in the United States. We're just told we're not allowed to deal with it. We're not allowed to dig for it, drill for it, mine it. And this is really confusing to us because it's a natural resource that we're going overseas to fight and die for and defend, and then we got to run on our feet and we can't drill for it. It just doesn't make any sense for us. And so then we have these other issues that are starting to get us, where college tuition costs. Look at the difference between income, new home prices, okay, and all other items that you buy, and the cost of a college education from 1980 to 2010. Look at how it's gone up. Our children are borrowing so much money to go to school. It's not worth going to school. It's just not worth it. So now we're looking at another bubble, like the housing bubble we had, where the student loans, which are approaching $1 trillion in student loans, they won't be able to pay them back because they won't be able to get jobs. These are the things we have to fix to get our country back on track. If you come over here, you'll see a panel. It says, so what's the problem? So what's the problem? Government spending is out of control. So we have to borrow to spend, and we're borrowing 40 cents on every dollar. The government has no money. It's our money, and we're broke. If we don't have jobs, we can't pay taxes, they can't get the money. It's our money. There is no government money. And so we owe this $120 trillion or $114 trillion of debt to all of our employees, the government employees that we're going to be retiring and things. We have this nanny state that's trying to tell us everything to do. So government is growing because they think we want them to tell us what to do, and that's eating up more cash because you got to pay for that growth, and that's taking away money from the private sector, so we can't create the jobs to pay the taxes. We're just headed in the wrong direction. That's what it really comes down to. And then you get into things like this. As we learned in the beginning, we're a representative government, meaning that we elect people who go and represent us. We expect, and our Constitution calls for them to make the decisions that affect our lives. But now we've gone into this situation where we're reporting czars. All of these czars. And you can see who they are and what they make. None of these people are elected. But they're telling you what you can do with your car, what you can do with your food, what you can do with your drugs. These people are, the people who are running our government. That's not the way it's supposed to be. They weren't elected. They have no business running our government. Congress should be running our government, and the president, not these unelected czars. So this is kind of why our movement began. If you look here on September 9/11 of 2009, we had a rally in Washington where 1.5 million people came to Washington, D.C. and said, we don't want healthcare, government healthcare. We don't want you taking over banks. We don't want you taking over car companies. We don't want you taking over the oil, energy, and the energy sector. We want government to get out of our way. And so this is where the movement began. This is where we started to push back, against this out-of-control government where, we weren't following the Constitution. So this is why the Portage County Tea Party started. Who are we? This is our first Tea Party on July 11, 2009 on the Ravenna Courthouse lawn. And basically, we are just citizens here in the county who believe in ending government borrowing, cutting spending, reversing the growth of government jobs at all levels, free enterprise. We believe in free enterprise. Business, not government, creates jobs, and protecting individual rights and freedoms. we also believe in following the Constitution and enforcing states' rights. And we've had a lot of accomplishments in our 3 years of being an organization, and of them are trips to Washington and various other groups like the Patriot Walk that we did in 2010, the election of 2010. Most of all, our membership is now at 2,200 members, and that's really an accomplishment for a county like Portage County. 1 out of every 59 adults in Portage County is a member of the Portage County Tea Party and believes, like we do, that we need to be part of our government to make our government work well. So here's the structure of the Portage County Tea Party. Structured a lot like any other organization. We have a board of directors, and I'm the executive director. We have a president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. And then we have township captains who help us with local issues. And then we have a bunch of committees that do things like this booth, or parades, or help us with going with elections and things of that nature, putting on the candidates nights that we do. So we have a lot of committees, and this is a list of all of our committees that people can join. And then the township captains, we have one for each township. Okay, and they're the ones that are in touch with the zoning board and with the trustees in their township. And then we have what we call our majors, and the majors are kind of over school districts because school districts encompass more than one township in most cases, and so they kind of coordinate with the township captains in those various townships as a major. So the question becomes, what do we want? And what we want is pretty simple. We want people who elect to stick with the Constitution. We want you to, just be, follow the Constitution. Don't, just go off on your own and do things. Follow the letter of the law. Stop over-regulating business. This is really important to us. We need to have business set free. I'm not saying give them a free pass. That's not what we want at all. But we don't want unnecessary regulations. We want government to work hand in hand with business and say, how can we help you grow in a responsible manner? That's all we ask. But that's not what's happening. We have people in government who are enforcing their views on business, telling banks how to be banks. I got news for you. They don't know. They can't tell a bank how to be a bank. We had a guy running the car companies who never worked for a car company. That doesn't work in business. It doesn't work in government. So we want to stop over-regulating businesses. We want to end government borrowing. We want to stop government from spending more than it takes in. And we want government to stop infringing on our individual freedom and liberty. That's what we really want. What does it all come down to? It comes down to we want to reduce the size of government. It's this big. We want it to be that big. Why? The Constitution is designed to restrict government. Not to give it all the powers it needs. That's what monarchies do and dictatorships do. Our Constitution intentionally restricts government from stealing our rights, from taking away our individual freedoms and liberties to make decisions, to start businesses, to take risks, to fail and to succeed on our own. That's what our Constitution does. And so we need to get our government small again so that it is not taking dollars out of the private sector that we need to do those things that we want to do. So as we move down, we can see our mission statement. And our mission is we are American citizens who demand a constitutionally and fiscally responsible government that does not intrude on individual freedom, opportunity, and responsibility. And these are answers to questions that people have about the Portage County Tea Party. We know that. We know people have questions about us. So we want to answer those questions. You'll also see a display that says freedom and liberty versus statism. Now this is an important thing that's happening in our country today. Because the battle this year and going forward is really between whether you can run your life or the state can run your life. It's individual freedom and liberty versus statism. It's not about Democrats and Republicans. It's not about Mitt Romney and Barack Obama. It's not about any politicians. It's about us as a people. What do you believe? Do you believe you can make the choices to run your life, or do you believe that you have to give up those freedoms and have the state make those decisions? There's groups that are working against us, like the Occupy movement and Acorn and Move On and people like that, and then the Tea Party's on the other side. So we have a display that talks about that battle that's taking place. The bottom line is, it comes down to you. It comes down to you. And this whole booth, this display is about you. Because what can you do? Well, if we are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, it requires that you are totally engaged Americans. So what does that mean? Well, to you and I, and I'm older, I'm sure a lot of you watching this are older, we were told you must vote, and we did vote. Most of us do vote. But it's not enough. It's not enough. If you just vote, you really aren't engaged with your government. If you had a rental property in Portage County and you rented it to somebody and never talked to them for 4 years, what kind of shape do you think that rental property would be in after 4 years? Well, if you elect someone to an office and they're serving in that office for 4 years and you never talk to them, you never go to their meetings, you never write to them, you never call them, Do you think they'll represent you? Or do you think they'll represent the interests of the people who do talk to them? That's what being totally engaged means. So we basically want people to attend township and zoning meetings. Not everyone. A couple times a year. Know what's going on in your community. School board meetings. Critical. Even if you don't have children in school, it's your tax dollars. Most of us pay property taxes, and even if you pay rent, part of your rent pays property taxes. It's critical that you know how they're spending your money and that we're getting value for that money. We all want great schools. We will pay for the great schools. We just want to get what we pay for. So we want to know that the schools are making good decisions for the children that are coming up behind us, that we'll have to do the same thing we're doing, defend America and make it great. You need to go to any federal or state meeting in our county. The federal government comes in our county, the state government comes in our county, you need to be there to ask questions, to know what they're doing, to give your approval or disapproval. That's critical. County commissioners, the county commissioners in Portage County, there's a $30 million budget, but almost $300 million goes through their hands from all this federal and state funds that get sent out to all these agencies in Portage County. That's where the money is. Have you ever been to a county commissioners meeting? You need to go. Downtown Ravenna. So you want to recruit qualified citizens to run for office. We always say, this person's terrible. I hate that politician. Yeah, but who are you going to replace them with? Your job, my job, our job is to find people who are good citizens, people you trust who can come and run for office and can do a job and serve us. Not to make it a career necessarily, but to just serve our country, our community, our state, and help us get the kind of government we want. After you recruit those candidates, though, you have to work for them. You can't help get them elected. And then after you get them elected, you got to stay in touch. You got to write to them. They have town hall meetings. They come all the time to talk to you. Go to the meetings. Ask them what's going on. What important bills are coming up. Give them your opinion. And so basically, we want you to read the U.S. and Ohio Constitution and read them to your kids. They should know that's the document that their future is built on. There are billions of people all over this world who would die, who do die trying to get in this country. Your children were fortunate enough to be born here, your grandchildren, they should know why it's a great country. Read them the Constitution. Read them the Declaration of Independence. And then if you'd like, join the Portage County Tea Party so you can get the information that we send out about important things that are happening here in Portage County, in the state, and the nation, and how you can help. But most of all, you need to vote, okay? And it's funny because you always hear people say, and I know it. I mean, it makes sense a lot of times. People go, my vote doesn't count. It doesn't count. It doesn't matter. But right here in Portage County, look what happened. Just in 2009, we had a coin toss for the mayor. One vote could have decided who the mayor was, and because you didn't vote, possibly, you didn't decide that. We had a coin toss. Every vote counts, and you need to vote. You need to be engaged in this election and every election, including primaries when you actually have a choice of candidates. Here are the candidates that you will be able to vote for in Portage County this year. Everything from President of the United States to county coroner. So here's a list here that you can see. So there's some closing comments here that we talk about. And basically, you can read this when you get here. It's just saying, for years, we kind of lived our lives thinking everything was going to be okay. And now we're learning that it's not okay. That we, the people, have to step up and give some guidance to our elected officials and get them to do the things that they need to do to honor the Constitution and protect our individual freedoms and liberties and get our country back on track. So this is what you want to look at when you close out this meeting. If you come here and look at this board, it'll kind of tell you what the next steps are. You also need to know who represents you today. And look at this. Look at all these people from states and cities, villages and school boards, townships, clerk and fiscal officers. But you need to know these people. If you're from Ravenna City, you need to know Mayor Bika. You need to know the people in Ravenna. If you're from a township or a village, you want to know who the Brady Lake mayor is or who the Garrettsville mayor is. You need to know who these people are. And I mean personally. You need to go to their meetings. You need to see them. You need to be involved with them. We also have a map here that's really important. And this map, because we had redistricting this year, in Portage County, they because we lost population in Ohio, they redistricted. So we have a whole bunch of different things. For instance, we have 3 congressmen in Portage County. Before we only had 2. Now we've got, these people in the northern part are voting in one congressional district, the center part and down below here in Atwater and Deerfield are in another district, and then we have even a 3rd district. So there's 3 different congressional races just in Portage County. It's unbelievable. That redistricting also affected our Ohio House and Senate rates. So in our House districts, we have 2 districts that affect us now, the 75th and 76th districts. But in the Senate, we're all in one district, and that district is shared with Geauga County, which is just to the north of us. So here's a map that explains all those kind of things, so you can know who your representatives are, so you can contact them, so you can be totally engaged. That's what it's about, for you to be totally engaged. By this time, the kids will be done with their hunt, okay, and they'll be able to come in, and they actually have a ballot that they can vote with. So there's all kinds of ballots and things that they can check off and vote for their favorite characters and put it in the voting booth. And then we have these stickers like you get when you vote on election day. You get a little sticker that says I voted, and so they get a little sticker that says I voted in the Portage County Tea Party booth. So they've been able to stay with you as you've gone through the booth. We also want to make sure that you're registered to vote. So we will have registration forms for you. We will have absentee ballot request forms so you can mail it in, so you can get a ballot mailed to you. You can sign up to get Tea Party emails. You can sign up to join the Portage County Tea Party. You can do all of those things. You can sign up, obviously, to win the TV. This is where you'll sign up, to win the TV. And the way that's going to work is after we're done with all the fairs and festivals in Portage County in September, at one of our meetings, we will draw out a lucky winner, and you'll win that TV that's out there. So it'll be a lot of fun just for going through the booth. You get to enter the contest. You don't have to pay for anything. It's free of charge, and you can get a chance to win the TV. So the last thing we want you to do is just realize that knowledge is power, okay? And that you are powerful, you yourself. The things you can do to fulfill your constitutional duty is, first of all, verify anything and everything you hear or see in the media before acting. Too much is said on TV and radio that isn't true. Don't believe it. See with your own eyes, hear with your own ears. Don't believe what anybody tells you. Make sure you question it and verify it. Attend our meetings and meet the candidates yourself. All summer long, we will be having candidates, including congressmen and senators, coming and talking to you so you can ask them questions. You can shake their hand. You can look them in the eye. That's what's important, so that you know who you're voting for. Write, call, or meet with elected officials after elections. Visit our website at portagecountyteaparty.org so you can see stories that are breaking or information you need to know. Get on our email or robocall list, and then tell others about this booth. Tell other people about this booth, and have them come by and see us this time during the summer, and learn about our nation, our country, our problems, and how you can fix them, how we can fix them, how we the people are going to make the difference. Thanks for visiting our booth. We'll look forward to seeing you on Election Day.